I don't like that it's so low and so long, but the explanation, of course, is the economy is not behaving appropriately. So I'm not going to say it's inappropriate, but it is an uncomfortable situation that we have essentially zero interest rates for a long period of time. I mean, this is going on now
several years, yeah,
for quite a while without much investment return to the ordinary investor.
But are you one of these people worried more about deflation or inflation?
I'm a constitutional worrier about inflation, and I think there's been too much worrying about deflation, frankly. I think the chronic worry is a worry about inflation. But that doesn't say I think the inflation animal, bull, or whatever it is lurking right over the picture at the moment.
So you don't think the Fed should be raising rates anytime soon, then?
Not right now. I think that's unlikely.
Yeah.
You would love to see rates more normalized, but when you can get there is the question.
Let's look at this whole issue about the debt ceiling in the U.S. We've even had some of the rating agencies beginning to warn that maybe the AAA rating could go. Do you think the AAA rating is in danger, or is this all posturing that will be sorted?
Look, I don't like the role of the credit rating agencies, frankly. I think they've injected themselves into a situation that's beyond their competence. The United States is going to pay its debts, and playing around with this rating agency thing at the moment is, I don't think, very helpful. It's not as if their record has been so distinguished. These are special precedents in this area.
One of the things us non-economists have had to learn about is quantitative easing. We've had two QEs, QE2. Do you expect eventually there will be a QE3 in the U.S.?
Well, it's up to the Federal Reserve at some time, but I think I don't like the idea of this QE1, QE2, QE3. It dramatizes something I don't think is really that dramatic. What this consists of, basically, is the Federal Reserve decided to enter the long-term bond market, which for decades they've eschewed doing.
Let me ask you about the euro. We're, of course, here in Europe, in London, and all the talk is about default. Would you expect a European country to possibly have to default, even if it's a technical default?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily rule that out, depending upon how the situation is taken care of. I think this is a real crisis for the euro, and I would extend that and say it's a real crisis for Europe as to how this is handled. And I do not think that, what's called a technical default should upset Europe, but you have to be prepared to deal with this with very, I think, consistent and forceful actions by the leadership. And
people say there's not a lot of leadership in Europe.
Well, that's the real question: is will the leadership rise to this challenge? Because I think it is a very real challenge, and it's not. If they don't, then even a minor default, a fear of default, becomes very disturbing.